Hey everyone, how are you doing today? In today's video I'm going to be coming at you with something a little bit different, and I'm going to be doing a bullet journal review of the Scribble Dot journal. So stay tuned and find out what I think. I got this journal from Amazon in February and well, it is February now still, at the start of this month. Basically, I just needed a journal quite quickly. For more information on why I needed that journal, go either onto my account, or if I've managed to upload that video before this one, click on the link above and that'll take you to that. And essentially, I just needed a journal that was cheap, cheerful, but also needed to be what I normally would use. So, you know, A5 size, 160 GSM dotted. As long as it had those three things, I didn't care. Just needed to be those. And I went on to Amazon, and as you'd expect, quite a lot of the journals either weren't the right paper or weren't the right size, or were still 30 odd quid like they normally are with things like Archer and Olive and stuff, until eventually I came across this journal by Scribble Dot for £16, and I thought that seems a pretty good bargain, and I loved the look of it. So I bought it and it arrived, and the first impression that I had was I was so impressed by this packaging. It's got this gorgeous like gold foiling on it, and it's got the leaf, which is the stamp that's on the front of the book, so the box matches the design on the book itself. I don't know if it's the same for all of their products, but I just really liked it. And that reveals this beautiful emerald or deep forest green journal with gold foiling, and as you like I said, both the journal and the box have the leaf design, which I just thought was a really cool thing. And then the actual book itself, it's vegan leather, it's 160 GSM dotted, and I believe it's 160 pages. Let me just check. Yep, 160 pages, and it's pretty standard like a lot of these journals. We've got the beautiful like leather embossing, we've got your front page, it has an envelope in the back, it has an elastic strap to hold it shut, and we have a pen loop, always good. Not all journals do the pen loop, and not all journals do the elastic band, so it's nice to have a journal that does do both. And they've secured the pen loop in really well by sewing it in, so unlike other journals, unfortunately, it's one of my gripes with Archer and Olive, they don't really secure their pen loops in a sort of extra way. They just kind of glue it in, and that means sometimes the pen loop can come out and fall out. It happened to my journal last year. So if we show you on the Archer and Olive, you can see it's just glued in. Whereas again with this one, you can see it's actually been sewn in properly and is nice and secure and isn't going to fall out anytime soon. So the first impressions on the look and the aesthetic, I think it's really, really pretty. I'm not so keen that it says journal on it because I know it's a journal, so I don't really need to know that. I would have preferred it just to be clear and blank. It also has these little doodads, which again, not all of the brands do. And then obviously, like I said, some of this I've already filled in because I'm setting up and I've already set up for the year, because I didn't want to just do a first impression review of this. I actually wanted to do, once I've used it for a little bit, to give you a proper analysis of what I like and what I don't like, and then obviously at the end of the video, would I buy it again? So you've got a key, which I think works really, really well, especially if you're new to bullet journaling and haven't got to grips with your own key yet. It just is a nice way for you to keep a log of that. And then you've got your standard index, which doesn't just cover like 1 or 2 pages, it actually covers on 3 pages, which again is really, really cool. And then the pages themselves are white with your dots, and they're all numbered. Like I said, the first impressions were really nice. Now moving on to some of the pros and then the cons, although I'm going to start with the cons because I think it's always good to start with the negative and then we move on to the really positives. It wasn't until I went into the book that I started to have a few issues. The biggest issue I have had so far is the dots on this book are very faded. If I show you in comparison to my Archer and Olive, you can see the Archer and Olive dots stand out a lot more clearly. They're a lot easier to follow, and it's much easier when you come to planning, especially if you're using the sort of grids and making a grid pattern on it. For me, the dots are almost invisible. In fact, there are times when I'm trying to use the book and I can't see the dots at all. And I've had to kind of eyeball it and freehand it quite a lot. I'm also not a fan of the spine on this one. It's quite a rigid spine, so the paper doesn't quite lay flat. And you can tell the spine looks a little bit more cracked and worn than perhaps it would do on another journal. And so I'm a little bit concerned about the longevity of this one. And then the final problem that I have with this, apart from like the spine and the dots, is the paper itself. This paper, as soon as you put anything liquidy on it, it just kind of rolls off and it's almost waterproof. It takes quite a while for ink to dry on it compared to other journals that I've used. So just be warned of that, especially if you want to use things like gel pens. I did a gel pen test at the back, which I forgot to put in the overview. It has a pen test page. I did do a gel pen test on it, and I found that it took quite a while for the gel pen to dry. And even though you can't see the gel pen on the other side, there is an impression of the gel pen and the writing, so the paper isn't as robust as in other journals. And even though it's 160 GSM, it just feels like slightly lower quality than in other notebooks that I've used. Like the paper doesn't feel as rigid, and I'm not convinced it is actually 160. I mean, it probably is 160, but it just feels a little bit more flimsy and it feels a little bit more fragile. But that's the cons that I've found with it so far. The pros are still really good. For example, I really love the design on it. I love the colours that they've chosen. I think the leather is really lovely. It has this kind of like, it has different variations in the shades, which I think looks really nice. And also it's quite easy to clean, even though there's a couple of scuffs that I've put on it already. That's just because of my clumsiness and me being a dumbass than the actual design of the book itself. So it's quite easy to clean as well, and with it being leather I can use a damp cloth if I spill anything and I won't ruin the material of it. I also really like the use of the pen tests and the fact that it's got those little extra things like the key, the index, the page numbers. It really serves as a functional bullet journal. I feel like it's a really good setup, especially for a beginner. It takes some of that pressure off. And it's so useful having page numbers to help you navigate through your journal. And again, I really love that packaging, everything that came with the box, the journal itself, everything's just so pretty and so well designed. And then also the final sort of big pro is that so far I haven't experienced any bleeding, even on pages where I've done quite a lot of colouring. So with this one, you can see I've gone quite heavy on the pen. I've gone over this 2 or 3 times and there is absolutely no bleeding on the previous page. So it has done well. I've also used Posca paint pens on here. I've used, if we find one that actually shows that it doesn't bleed through. But overall, I would say that this is a fantastic entry-level bullet journal. I think if you are not sure yet if you want to go full on with bullet journaling, but you don't want to get a really cheap journal and you want one that's got a reasonably good quality to give you a really good introduction, I would say this is definitely for you. If you're someone who does a lot of painting, a lot of drawing and are really heavy-handed, I would say to probably look elsewhere. I don't think this would stand up. Would I say that it's worth the cost? I would say definitely. I would recommend this to people, and I have recommended this one to people because I do think it is worth the money that you pay for it. And like I said, it is a very good entry level bullet journal. For me personally, I would not buy another one, and I can tell this will be the only Scribble and Dot that I use purely because of the paleness of the dots. I just can't function with that, and I'm really struggling to use the journal, especially as I do a lot of grid layouts in my journal, and so I need to be able to see the dots. So I think when it comes to June and I upgrade and get my mid-year journal, I will be going back to a brand that I've used before. However, I am glad that I've tried it, and it's good that I've now got a journal that I can recommend to people and say, look, here's one to start with, rather than spending all that money on a more expensive brand. And like I said, definitely worth the money, definitely good value. Personally, it's not one that I will use again, but I am very happy with the one that I've got. I just really wish that the pages were the paper was a little bit better quality, and that I could actually see the dots properly on the page like with every other journal I've had. And if it hadn't got those slight flaws, I think this would have been a 10 out of 10. However, because it does have a couple of those niggles that just make it that I'm not having as much of a good time with it as I would have liked, I would give this a very solid 8 out of 10. So if you are looking to get a journal for someone either on the cheap, or you're a beginner just starting out and not sure what journal to use, yes, I recommend it. Yes, it's a good journal. If you're a bit more experienced, a bit more artsy, then I would say maybe give it a try, but you're probably better off going with another journal. I hope this review helps you in any way, shape or form. I'm not affiliated with the brand. These are all my honest views. I'm just sharing with you the issues that I personally have found. It might just be this one particular journal misprinted. You never know. But from my personal experience of this journal, I like it. I don't love it, but I will continue to use it, and then I will continue to recommend it for those specific people. And yeah, I hope that that's helped you, and I hope that you are enjoying this content. If you are, then give me a little like. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more reviews, because I've now used 4 or 5 different brands and I'm happy to review all of them. So if these reviews are helpful, let me know, and I will do some reviews of the other journals that I currently own. And in the meantime, I hope you're good. I hope you're staying safe. Don't forget to click the subscribe button followed by the bell so you never miss an update from me. And I will see you on the next video. Bye.